Quran study. This is a huge blessing of God that He has allowed us to be here. And we need to be thankful to God for His blessings. Inshallah, we'll be reading from the Surah number 10, verse number 68. As we always say, seek refuge in God from Satan, the rejected, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. The gross blasphemy. They said God has begotten a son. Be he glorified. He is the most rich. To him belongs everything in the heavens and everything on earth. You have no proof to support you have no proof to support such a blasphemy. Are you saying about God what you do not know? Proclaim, those who fabricate lies about God will never succeed. They will get their temporary share in this world. Then to us is their ultimate return. Then we commit them to severe retribution for their disbelieving. So this is the gross blasphemy we know, and we are very well aware of this. It has been going on even before Prophet Muhammad came, and even up to now, it is just so many levels of this blasphemy is going on. What does God says about how bad that is? We can get some idea here. The heavens are about to shatter, the earth is about to tear asunder, and the mountains are about to crumble because they claim that the most gracious has begotten a son. It is not befitting for befitting the most gracious that he should beget a son. So this is that bad that the heavens are about to shatter, the earth is about to tear asunder, the mountains are about to crumble. Can we imagine all these things happening? And why are they about to do that? Because we know that all God's creation, they're not like the earth is not like a dead thing. I mean, everything we don't understand, but everything is prostrating God. They worship God, and how and how their senses are, whatever the system is, we are not aware. It's like they have their mind, the heavens, the earth, the mountains. How is it? God knows, and we may learn someday. So instead of tackling this first part of the verse, let's talk about uh, this part, the most rich, and to him belongs everything, the heavens and the earth. Let's examine that. This will shed enough light on this, so we don't even have to discuss that. It's kind of like somebody who was a drunk driver and kills a family. So the case is in the court, and instead of keep talking about you drink and you drive, you did this, you did this, what if the court, how the court system, they talk about the tragedy, what happened, they put so much light on the tragedy that they don't even have to discuss the guy was drinking and driving. They put too much light on the tragedy, what happened. That in itself gonna cause a lot of uh, value to what he did. So instead of talking about that, we can talk inshallah about this part, the most rich and belong. So when we examine this part, that's gonna give us so much light that this thing will be automatically explained. And the part of it that we explain right here about that. And rich, God talks about the rich not in sense of money. God doesn't need money. I mean, money is just a currency. In God's system, there's a different system. Rich mean owning. Like if somebody is very rich, they say that he owns this property and that property. Rich mean in this sense that to him belongs everything in the heavens and the earth. That he's rich, that he owns everything. Not only he owns it, he created it. Not only he created it, he initiated from nothing. So this is a very high level of owning something. This is not owning like somebody owns a property. Somebody owns a property. He doesn't even know what's going on in its property. There could be something. The bugs could be infiltrating, or anything could be happening. He had no idea, uh, you know. But God, the way He owns something, He knows exactly everything what's going on in His uh, everything. I mean, basically everything belongs to Him, and He's aware of everything in His. So let's take one of God's property. Property mean like what He owns, and examine that, and then that will shed a lot of light. What is God's one of the minute, very tiny property that He owns is our galaxy. uh, and we're not even going to talk about the universe. Just focus on our galaxy. That's more than enough. And before we talk about the galaxy, let's talk about our solar system. And let's see here. I'm sorry. loading, or maybe I don't know what happened. Give me a second. For some reason, this thing is kind of hard. Okay, it's right there. Okay. And if you can see on the screen, I put up the picture of the galaxy. I mean, our solar system, and the speed of the sun. Uh, I mean, the speed of the Earth that is going around the Earth or the sun is 67,000 miles per hour. That's the speed of the sun. I mean, the Earth that is going around. I mean, 67,000 miles per hour, and it takes 365 days to complete one orbit. That is 1 year, and we just had a new year, and that completed one complete orbit, and it is so balanced and so precise that. Winter always comes in winter months. Summer always comes in the summer months. There's nothing like that, because the tilt of the Earth is in a way, it's the Earth is tilted on its axis, that whenever and it will go the same way. It will uh, in a way. For some reason, it stopped sharing. I don't know if you can see the screen. For something happened, it's just not sharing the screen. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can see the
Okay.
screen now.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So as you can see, the Earth is tilted on its axis a little bit, and it will always will be like that. Otherwise, if it changes just the way it's tilted, you will have summertime, you will have winter time, or worse wise, and it will be all chaos. So it's such a precise calculation. Whenever we even send our these satellites into the space orbit, they have to calculate the precise direction and speed, and so it stays in the orbit. The speed has to be very precise, otherwise if it's too fast, it's going to go out of the orbit, or if it's slow, it's going to fall on the ground. So who did all these, even just over 9 or 8 planets around the sun? Who calculated all that? I mean, praise be to God. I mean, this is so precise that for millions of years it's just going around like that, in precise, and that's the speed of the Earth around the sun. Now let's zoom out, and let's go into the galaxies. And by the way, the largest, I mean, our solar system, our galaxy has roughly, maybe let's make it like roughly 300 billion stars on our galaxy, in our galaxy, just like our sun. And our sun is one of the smallest, and this is one of the largest sun, hyper giant, something UY Suchi or something. And this is 1700 times bigger than our sun. We are talking about God's one of the minute property, by the way. There are more than 2 trillion galaxies in just the inner universe. We're talking about a blasphemy here, so it has to be proven. There's another picture of the sun, and you can see the Earth. It's looks like a small dot right there, and we have all these other planets. And this is the sun is so big that it's almost look like a straight line. It's huge. The circumference would be a lot bigger, and the distance is not this the way the picture is shown. The distance will be far. The Earth will be way in the back behind the Neptune, and it will be so far away. This is how huge it is. And when you zoom out further to the galaxy, and you can see this is our sun, and this in the middle is kind of, call it a black hole or something, which has a tremendous gravity, that the sun is orbiting as the Earth is orbiting around the sun. The sun is orbiting around the whole galaxy, and it takes about 225 to 250 million years to make its own one circle around the whole black hole. This is how huge it is. It is crazy, and the sun is traveling at 560,000 miles per hour. Imagine the speed that is. I mean, how fast the plane flies, maybe 500 miles per hour. This is 560,000 miles per hour. It's going in its orbit. And how fast that is, that with that speed, somebody would imagine it's by evening, it will be like maybe on the other side. But the distance is so big that for millions of years, it's barely moved. I mean, if you look at the picture, it looks like a still picture, but the earth, the sun is moving at that kind of speed, but it looks like a still picture because it is so massively big. And we're talking about, again, the minute property of the God, the galaxy. Huge. Light takes 100,000 years from this end to the other. Light, how fast that travels. In 1 second, light can travel 7.5 times around the Earth. That is the speed of light. It will take a light 100,000 years just to get across. I mean, just think about it. I mean, our life is only 80 years in this planet. And how fast would that be? Just, I mean, your mind starts to just go numb when you just talk about just our own galaxy. I mean, we haven't even get out of our galaxy, and this is huge. This alone, this information alone is just crazy. I mean, I don't know. And why in the world, you think about it, why in the world the creator of all this, and we don't have no idea what's outside, would need a sun? I mean, to say something like that, this is where you understand why Earth is about to crumble and the heavens about to shatter asunder. I mean, all those things when you read, this is where you understand how bad that is. The one who created us, the one who gave us everything in the heavens and earth, are we going to create one of his creation and take him and put him right next to him? Just imagine that. How gross would that be? Just a king. You live in a country, if there's a king, he provides you everything. Instead of being grateful to him, you take one of your fellow person and make him his son. I mean, in a smaller picture, it looks so gross. Just imagine how gross would that be on the day of judgment, when people will be like, talking, will understand that. So we live in a science age that we have the information. We can put 1 + 1 into 2. It's not like we have satellites, we have things that we can see how great and awesome God is. And after that, we're still living in this old teaching of this. They say God has begotten a son. And God is saying that those who fabricate lies about God, they will never succeed. And when God says it's a done deal, I mean, there's no way they're going to succeed. And God does give them their temporary share in this world, whatever they are, their food, shelter, and everything else what they need in this world. God provides them. God can take that away any second. But the thing is, God provides them, so they may reflect, they may ponder, or anything like that, because otherwise the test will be over. So for their specific time while they're on earth, everyone is provided, and that is the mercy of God. Otherwise, the blasphemy that people are uttering, not only about begotten a son. I mean, pretty much all religions have something happening that this is just gross. This is just one example that God is saying. Telling God begotten a son, or putting somebody next to God, as a Muslim do, or making him such a high level to. I mean, what is worse? I mean, why would you want to decide what is worse? Worse is worse. I mean, that is, they're doing blasphemy. They're doing blasphemy, as God has said, whoever who's more evil than who fabricate lies about God. Period. That's, I mean, this is worse. But who fabricates lies about God is period. There's no. I am better than you, or I'm less worse than you. There's not even a question about that. And to God, everyone will be returned, for their disbelief. I mean, there is no period, there is no escape that you can say that I can vanish or something happen. By closing our eyes, it's not going to change the reality. It's like when a pigeon sees a cat, it closes its eyes thinking that everything is okay. I mean, it's not going to work like that. And the next verse is Noah, verse number 71. Recite for them the history of Noah. He said to his people, O my people, if you find my position and my reminding you of God's revelations too much for you, then I put my trust in God. You should get together with your leaders, agree on a final decision among yourselves. Then let me know it without delay. If you turn away, then I have asked you for I haven't asked, I have not asked you for any wage. My wage comes from God. I have been commanded to be a submitter. They rejected him, and consequently, we saved him and those who joined him in the ark. We made them the inheritors, and we drowned those who rejected our revelations. Note the consequences, they have been warned. So Noah is asking his people that tell me your decision without a delay. What does that mean without a delay? Like right now, I need to know. But if we read the verse number 29, verse 14, we sent Noah to his people, and he stayed with them 1,000 years less 50. Subsequently, they incurred the flood because of their transgression. So he lived among his people 950 years. So that the word without a delay, that didn't come right away. Day and night he's been preaching. Whenever he had a chance, or however that was, he was preaching his people that you God is one God, and they keep rejecting. And here he's saying to his people, oh my people, if you find my position. What is he asking? That reminding of God. If it's too much bad for you, does it bother you? I mean, we can clearly understand very much that why this thing bothers people when you talk about God alone. People get offended in a way that they don't like that. The way his messenger of God is talking to his own people that you find my position, what's wrong with my position? And I don't even ask you for any wage. I don't ask you anything. And he stayed with them 950 years. And why God gave them such a long time, and why God mentioned here that about 950 years is one of the clue that we get is when a human being decides to do something, it doesn't even matter 1,000 year or 10,000 year or 70, 80 year life that we live right now. It doesn't even matter how long you can let them live a million years. Whatever they have decided, they're going to stay on that. They're not going to change. So here God gives us a very clear example by Noah, and he created those people to live 1,000 years to prove a point that time is irrelevant here. Once you decide to disbelieve in God, then there's nothing, because we're going to see more verses like that that defines this. So we live 70 years, 80 years, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. I mean, once people, a 50-year-old person, once they decide to reject God's revelation, because after that, I mean, this is a downhill towards the wrong direction. And he's telling them to, without a delay, because God's judgment is about to come. The ark that God commanded him to make is being made, and it's about time the flood will come. So he, at that point, as we understand, he tells his people, "Let me know without delay." Even at that point, the ark is built and everything's probably has done. Um, God is still giving them time through this revelation that to his people, that even this is pretty much the last chance without a delay. Maybe somebody can change their mind at the last moment, and God will save them. But how bad they were, and too bad to the point when his own son was even floating around in the water, and he saw a hill. Even at that time, I mean, a person would think that, what's wrong with you? You saw your father preaching, and he built an ark, and the water came. Everything doesn't Don't you think everything is connecting with each other? Maybe at that time you should start repenting. Maybe God will save you. But even at that time, he's so arrogant. He said, I'm going to climb on the top hill or something like that. Just imagine how bad human beings are. And then if you turn away, he said, I don't ask you for anything. Look at my message. The same thing every messenger has done it. Same thing Rashad has done it. But what happened? I mean, human being is a human being. 50 years ago, right now, human being is human being. We think those were different people, be exactly the same, two eyes, two arms, and two legs, same thing, same brain. I mean, they may live 1,000 years, and as we know in the science right now, that human body is just, it can reproduce, it can recycle itself for millions of years. It's just the little tentacles on our DNA that inside our cell, they starts to get shortened, and that causes us to age. If they don't get short, a person can stay young forever. I mean, God can do anything. So now we have the scientific stuff. We know that. I mean, they lived 1,000 years. God let them live it, and they rejected Him, and consequently, we saved Him for those who joined the ark. So focus on this one. They rejected, so they got what they want. Who were saved? Those who joined in the ark. They were the one who were submitters with Noah, because otherwise the disbelievers would not be allowed to get on the ark, right? Uh, Pretty much that's our understanding is. Otherwise, um, you know, my understanding is, I could be wrong, but I think the people they were on the ark, they're all believers. We made them inheritors. So when they landed in other surahs, we learn, and Noah saying, "In the name of God," this I'm paraphrasing. This will sail, and in the name of God, we will land in some place. And after that, God made them inheritors, give them whatever they need, and God drowned those who rejected His revelations. Note the consequences they have. They have been warned. I mean, it's not like God annihilate people without even warning them. So they were precisely warned. But what they did, this is example upon example that God is giving us. Yeah, as we also know, Noah was when he was praying for his son, God stopped him, and this other sheds light that we're not supposed to pray for someone who's a disbeliever, even insist on their original sin. Then we sent after him messengers to their people. See, this part is very critical. And they showed them clear proofs, but they were not to believe in what they had rejected in the past. We thus seal the hearts of the transgressors. So these people, when they landed here, and then they were inheritors and everything was fine, see what happens. Out of good people comes out bad people. I mean, when the messenger comes, something happens, like a good community, and then as soon the bad things start getting into the religion. Maybe, however they were. See, this is the people of Noah. After him, messengers to their people. So after Noah left, then people got bad, and then God sends messengers, and they show them their clear proofs. We're talking about past after Noah. They cleared them their proof, but they were from the ark. Everything was drowned. What in the world happened? I mean, why did they change? Or their children, or wherever. This is where we understand. I mean, if you're a submitter now, I mean, you have to be very serious. You have to be very careful, because you only get one chance. And we learn from Moses' story, and that's gonna come up in the and this is a really, really scary situation, that what God is telling us, that you have to be walking on your tiptoe, walking on eggshell, to in I mean, Satan is on. I mean, the game is on. It's not like you're playing basketball, and your team has scored big times and you can relax. No, I mean, the minute you relax, the other team can win. So the game is on until your heart is beating. So never know. I mean, this is really serious business here. And they rejected, but they were not to believe in what they had rejected in the past. Uh, and I don't know if these were talking about the Noah's people, but as we know, those who rejected were annihilated. So they were not allowed on the ark. So possibly the ark people are the one are believers, but they landed, and then now they're inheritors. And then after that, bad stuff started happening, because this is past Noah. So I think if we clearly join the connections, this is where we understand these people are after Noah, and then they become corrupted again. What happened to Prophet Muhammad when he left? People become corrupted. Well, same thing is happening with the submission. People are, being corrupted as we're talking, and getting worse and worse by the minute. I mean, this is how bad it is. This is how bad. I mean, we need to be really, really, you know, focusing on what we're doing. And then what does God do? He sees their hearts of the transgressors. When that happens, of their transgressors, because sealing the heart happens after they have rejected it and they were not believed. Then the seal happens. When the heart is sealed, it's like a point of no return, as we understand. I mean, God is merciful. I don't know how somebody can be helped whose heart has been sealed. I mean, this is very scary. There's no point of return. Maybe. I mean, what miracle can happen? That person in himself cannot change it, because his heart has been sealed, is locked. Because the submission, the love for God comes from the heart. And imagine that there's a room that has been locked by God. But you cannot open it anymore. Now, what are you gonna do? You can wander around for the rest of your life, but you cannot enter that room anymore, because that room has been sealed by God. I mean, before that happens, we need to take action. God knows more. Maybe what are the exits for the people whose hearts have been sealed? Maybe they become really reverent. There may be an escape for them, but even though they will have for themselves to be in the situation that we uh, you know, this surah verse number 1 starts with alif lam ra tilka ayatul kitab al hakim. So tilka, I mean tilka, this ayat is in two meanings. Ayat mean proofs and revelations, and here in this context, in many places, God talks about ayat mean proofs, miracles, and also as ayats, as we read this is ayat. So this is ayat. Is this a proof? Al Kitab al Hakim, for this great wisdom book. This is the proof. So it comes right after this initial, right? And Surah 3, verse 58, God says, Zalika natluhu alayka min al-ayati wa zikr al-hakim. Zalika, this is natluhu, like when we're reciting to you, alayka, towards you, min al-ayati, these ayat. Now here, ayat means the revelations. Ayat mean ayat. But here, ayat mean proof. There's a difference here. Also, we see another Surah 2, verse 252, Tilka ayatullahi natluha alayka bil haqq wa innaka laminal mursaleen. Yeah, also here, tilka ayatullahi, these are the revelations of God. Natluha, we recite to you, like to you, bil haq, with truth. Wa innaka laminal mursalin, you are one of the messenger. So here also we see that is stated as ayat. Look here, amazing thing. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 surahs where they after the initials, so 10, 12, 13, 15, 26, 27, 28, 20, and 31, these surahs are the initial surahs, and right after the initials, something like that has been stated, Tilka Ayatul Kitabul Hakim, or different words of Yun. So somebody can think about it, why after these initials, God's saying these are the proof, as we know as the submitters, this is the proof of Quran. These alif lam, these initials are proof of Quran with the miracle of 19. So, and I looked through the whole Quran. I didn't find a single surah that starts with Tilka Ayatul Kitab. If this is mean ayat, where the traditional Islam people have translated as ayats, if this mean ayat, at least one surah should have started with Tilka Ayatul Kitab al-Hakim. But why only that came after the initials? That's one thing to ponder about. And that is a question mark for anybody, and for submitters and believers, this gives them extra belief. And but for somebody who reject, at least think about it. At least one surah should have started with Tilka Ayatul Kitab al-Hakim. None surah, only the initial surahs, and these 8 surahs. This is serious. I mean, how could anyone reject all this? I mean, period. And then God is talking about Moses and Aaron. Then we sent after them Moses and Aaron to Pharaoh and his group with our proofs, but they turned arrogant and were transgressing people. When the truth came to them from us, they said, "This is oblivious, obvious magic. This is obviously magic." Sorry. Moses said, "Is this how you describe the truth when it comes to you? Is this magic? How can any magicians prevail?" They said, "Did you come to divert us from what we found our parents doing and to attain position of prominence for yourselves? We will never join you as believers." So here now God started shifting his focus on Moses' example, and that is then we sent after them. So Noah, messengers came after them, and after them God sends Moses and Aaron to the same people, and we can see the Dead Sea where it is. It's kind of in next to Egypt, and that's where maybe some of the history we get is biblically that where the great flood happened, but we can just assume. But somewhere along the line, this could be the truth, but we know that exactly happened. Where it happened, it is not really relevant. We know this exactly what happened. The flood came, and all this, and Moses' story and all this stuff. We know that. So God sent Moses with proofs. So he has proofs, solid proofs, but people turn arrogant, and they didn't like it because this is what again human being, every human being is the same way. It's not difference. They just follow what their parents have taught them, what they have seen people doing. They don't see the truth. Even though they see the truth and even it makes sense for people, they reject it because they is their sincerity with their whoever loved ones uh, that they cannot let go. So the so you can only have one bond. Either you can have a bond with God or bond with the people. So if you sever your bond with God, then you are going to be staying with them. This is where human ego is tested, human mind is tested. People send let people live in a community, then he sends the truth and then test them after seeing the truth. Are they going to change or not? If you put your ego down, no, this makes sense, I'm going to follow this period, then you are listening to God. And they did the same thing, and people are still to the point doing the same thing. And you know when the truth came to them from us, they said this is obviously magic, so they called it a magic. And at that time magic was it was very all over the place. And what is Moses is saying, you know is this how you describe the truth? After you see all this, I did a serpent, and my hand turns into whole white, you're going to call this a magic? And God has a plan. God had a perfect plan for their answers. And then he asked them a question, a simple question: how can any magicians prevail? If you're telling me, if you're putting a blame on me that I just brought some crazy magic so I can divert you and be a prominence position in your community by just magic. You have hundreds and thousands of probably magicians in your whole community. They could have done the same thing. They could have prevailed. How can somebody just with the magic can all do that? I mean, common sense here. He's telling them common sense. How can we do with magic? And today, you think even today, right now, a great magician can go and with this magic can prevail, do big things, maybe heal people in a way that people can't imagine, and become extremely rich. As we know, magic is just illusion. It's not real. So if magic was that kind, if somebody can do with magic, I mean, they can create shows and make money. But if magic was real, then I mean, in a way, then people would have been extremely rich and can create whatever they want. He's just testing their common sense. And plain same answer, they're not going to believe what they saw their parents doing, and to attain a position of prominence. I mean, the same thing. He's telling them that, you know that's what you came here to do. But if you look from the other stories in the Quran, that Moses said to them that this is the message, and let the children of Israel go. That's all he's asking. He said, this is the message of God, be a messenger of God, and let the children of Israel go. That's how his demands are. He's not forcing them to believe. He's not forcing them to do this. And you want to follow your parents? We gave you the truth. We don't want a prominence position. Didn't you hear us? We want to just take the children of Israel, let them go. We want to free them. And why you are saying all this stuff? And the truth prevails. Pharaoh said, bring to me every experienced magician. When the magicians came, Moses said to them, throw whatever you are going to throw. When they threw, Moses said, what you have produced is magic. That is magic. And God will make it fail. God does not support the transgressor's work. God establishes the truth with his words despite the criminals. I mean, God has a perfect plan for them. He knew that they're gonna say call it magic, and and maybe God put it in their mind. Okay, go get your best magicians. And so we learn from Surah number 7. They said, "Respite him and his brother, and send summoners to every city. Let them summon every experienced magician." This is a very important thing to note here. Every experienced magician, not something amateur or beginner experience. So they send their people into every community in their kingdom, and look at all the magicians what they're doing, and saw their work, and collected the best of the best throughout his kingdom, right? And they brought it there, and they were experienced magicians. They tested all of them. Pharaoh's people, not Moses' people. Moses' people, if Moses has some people with him, if they go, that would be a objection that they're going to come in later. But they were Pharaoh's people, and they went out and they got the best people. And what happened? You know, So the produce, God says, that this your work is magic, and God will make it fail, as we know from Surah 7 and some other places that we inspired Moses to throw down your staff. I'm paraphrasing, and the serpent ate whatever they had, and truth was exposed. The magicians falls prostrate, and truth was established. God establishes the truth with His words, despite the criminals. So truth was, everything was black and white. So if you really put 1 plus 1, they were arrogant. They call him magic. So your people went and got the best magicians. Now they failed. At that point, somebody who's expert in their field, if they say something, you got to listen to them. So the experienced magicians fell, all of them, God said, they fell prostrate. That means you should put a question mark in your head that, oh my God, I mean, we probably don't, we don't even know magic, and these are expert. If they can see that, at least we should follow them. We should accept. Okay, at that point when the magicians fall prostrate, they should have accepted, God. They should have fall prostrate along with the magicians. Oh no, okay, if they are doing it, then we are. But instead, what they do, as we learn from Surah number 7, that Pharaoh said, "Did you believe in him without my permission? This must be a conspiracy. You schemed in the city in order to take its people away. You will surely find out." I mean, he's telling his best people in his magician. I mean, how is it possible? You know, think about it. God gives us such a precise information. If you put it together, Moses killed the person way back, and he left Egypt, right? He left that area. He went somewhere else where he got married, and he was talking to the father of the girl, and he offered him, right here. Moses was gone for a long time, and he got married there, and he has a deal with his father-in-law for 8 years, and he says if you make it 10, we better. So at least we know he was gone for 8 to 10 years, not there. Then after that, he came back because God made him a messenger and all that stuff we know. So he came back after such a long time. So how can a Pharaoh put an excuse on Moses? Think about it. That he was gone. Your people. I mean, how you say this is a schemed. This must be a conspiracy. You schemed in the city. I mean, how can you say that? He was not there. And even if he did a conspiracy, your people went to get the magicians, right? Maybe if he was if his people go, then that would be his magicians. And if Moses made a scheme, suppose for a second, and this was his magicians, and he told them, when I throw my serpent, you fall prostrate, right? But Pharaoh's people went and got and get the magicians, not his people. Maybe if he went, that's mean he went throughout the country and bought all those magicians, paid them the money that this will happen. And I mean, how, even common sense, how would he even know this would happen, right? That Pharaoh will call the magicians, and he would have to go to every magician and pay them the money that this will happen. You're gonna do this, and at that time Pharaoh should think that what he's saying, and when even he says that I'm gonna kill you, cut your hands on the opposite side, what is the answer of the magicians? That we will go back to our God. I mean, even that time Pharaoh should ponder that, okay, I keep making mistakes. Now I'm telling them that this is a scheme you made. If this was a scheme and Moses paid those magicians money, right? And when they were threatened by Pharaoh, at that time, everybody loved their life, right? They would say, Moses, I'm sorry, man, we cannot do that. He's gonna kill us. And at that time, they would have back off. But what did they say? We will go back to our God. Even at that point, Pharaoh should have think about it. And what am I saying? At least pay attention to what I'm saying. And these people are ready to die, no matter what. I mean, so many things that I mean, this is crazy. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, same thing happened to Rashad. So many logic he put out for the people, and they had nothing to do, nothing to say, and they were speechless. He proved them from the Quran, miracles upon miracles, 19, and whatever they were saying didn't make any sense. Similar level, whatever happening in Pharaoh's, same thing happened with how all the Muslim community got together and attacked Rashad, and same objection they brought. I mean, different kind, but probably similar level, or even far more worse, illogical things they have said. God established the truth, period, with his words. I mean, that's pretty much it. Praise be to God. None believed with Moses except a few of his people, while fearing the tyranny of Pharaoh and his elders. Surely Pharaoh was much too arrogant on earth and a real tyrant. Moses said, "Oh, my people, if you really believed in God, then put your trust in him if you really submitters." They said, "We trust in God, our Lord. Save us from the persecution of the oppressive people. Deliver us with your mercy from the disbelieving people." So there were few people, and God mentions the critical information while fearing tyranny of the pharaohs. So they were scared. So if somebody's scared and become a believer, that's mean the belief is pretty strong, right? What God is mentioning. Otherwise, everything is normal and people become believer. That is okay, but they are fearing, and even after the fear, they're believing, right? So that punches a lot of value in that belief. But what happens at the end? Only two people left when they were entering the Jerusalem. Two people, believers. I mean, this is how bad. I mean, we talked about before that coming into submission, it's pretty scary. These were very strong believers because they were fearing the tyranny of Pharaoh. After that, even and his elders, they still believe, and they're praying to God is to save us, and we trust in you, we believe in God, and and imagine that, and deliver us with your mercy with the disbelieving people. So these are pretty strong statements here by understanding these people are not regular believers, they are pretty strong believers, and how things can change. These are not, God didn't say two people, they were the same two people at the end, there were few people, so must be more than two. See how God is giving us such a critical information. If you read it, then everything starts to enlighten. We inspired Moses and his mother and his brother, sorry. Maintain your homes in Egypt for the time being, turn your homes into synagogues, and maintain the contact prayers and give the good news to the believers. Moses said, "Our Lord, you have given Pharaoh and his elders luxurious and wealth in this world. Our Lord, they only use them to repulse others from your path. Our Lord, wipe out their wealth and harden their hearts to prevent them from believing until they see the painful retribution." So they had to stay in Egypt for a while. That's where, I mean, I guess those other plagues have happened, the blood and frog and all that. Maybe it was probably for a reason God did, maybe giving them more chance or something, I guess. But they stayed there, and they were. What is the one thing we read here? Maintain contact prayer, because Abraham already came way before, so contact prayer was already established, and it's not like Islam has established it. So they were doing contact prayers again. They say Prophet Muhammad is the one who got the 50 salats and all that stuff. And the Miraj Waqia, and then the salat came to him. I'm just